Welcome everyone to this meeting of Cheltenham Borough Council's Cabinet. I'm Councillor Peter Jeffries, Deputy Leader of the Council, and I'm standing in today for the Leader, Councillor Rena Hay. Welcome to any members of the public, David, watching, and any members probably watching on the live stream of the meeting on the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If you are here to make a representation, and there were some questioners as yet unaware of their making a representation, you consent to using the sound and video recordings for broadcasting and training purposes. Please be aware that CCTV and audio recording is in operation in the foyers and public gallery, and the recordings will be held for 5 months, sorry, not years. That's the YouTube. Please note, the fire alarm test is not expected, so if the fire alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way to the nearest fire exit. And Councillor Pinniger, welcome. Your first Cabinet meeting. And we've said goodbye to Councillor Dobie. So welcome, Councillor Pinniger. The first item on the agenda is apologies, and apart from Councillor Hay, who's obviously we know is not here. Second item is declaration of interest. Does any member have any interests? Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Just to say that although it is not a formal matter, I think it would be appropriate for me to declare my interest in the Petersfield Partnership, a decision that's being made today, as I'm chair of Big Local, which is awarding significant funding to the partnership's proposal.
Thanks, thank you, Councillor Lucas. I see no other member indicating, so I'll move on to agenda item 3, which is minutes of the last meeting. Does any member have any comments or minutes on the last meeting? No. Can I see a show of hands for support? And that's carried. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. I'll just sign those minutes a second. And we'll go on to agenda item 4, which is public questions. There are 6 public questions, and the people that sent the questions have received their answers. There's nobody here to speak, so we'll just record that. Thank you for all those involved in providing those responses to those members of the public. We'll go on to agenda item 5. Or section 2 of the agenda, sorry. No reports from Council, no reports from a Review and Scrutiny Committee or any other committees. So, reports from members, section 5 on the agenda. And first on the agenda, Councillor Collins with the Housing Delivery Test Action Plan. Over to you, Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. So, as was just said, this is my report on the Housing Delivery Test Action Plan for 2025. Now, this report and the plan itself are incredibly important to Cheltenham Borough Council and the residents that we all represent. It may not be the sexiest of subjects, but I'll do my best. Nevertheless, it is vital to the successful and sustainable growth of our town that we do get this right and we report as accurately as we can on the data. We do, of course, have to work collaboratively with our JCS colleagues and other partners. It is a very technical report, and the officer team have worked very hard to soften it to make it a less style and a much easier read. I must admit, the first draft that I looked at, it was all figures, all technical, so it's a little bit softer, and hopefully when you read through it, you will find that that was actually the case. The requirement for this action plan was first introduced in 2019, and it provides an annual measurement over a 3-year rolling period. It is, however, a real challenge for an LPA like Cheltenham to achieve the tough requirements that have been set to us by the government. That said, this report shows we are meeting the challenge head on, and that we are setting out a housing delivery plan that strives to meet those challenging targets. You can see from this report that we are asking Cabinet to approve publication of the report and to delegate authority to the Director of Community and Economic Development, who is here with us this evening, in consultation with myself, to correct any minor errors and to add any further updates that we see necessary within the first 12 months. I would like to thank officers for writing the report and the attached plan itself. As always, both documents contain an incredible amount of detailed information. As I say, Tracy Birkinshaw, our Director of Community and Economic Development, is here tonight, and if anyone has got any questions, I'll try and answer them, but if I make a mess of it, then I'm sure Tracy will step in and rescue me. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Any member have any questions for Councillor Collins? Councillor Aston, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I just have a question with regards to the new measures that are coming forward with tracking the permissions that are granted for development and then the time elapse and then the permission lapses. Do we know when the next report is coming forward so we can better understand where these developments are not happening and the frequency of them, and if there are any trends or patterns associated to particular developers? Thank you.
Okay. I would make the assumption that, as it's an annual report, we would have an update on each of the items contained within it each year. So we're in June 2025, so I would say 2026. I'll look across at Tracy just to see if that is actually the case. Or is there something in the interim that we might get other questions, and if there's something in the interim that we might be able to add to what we've got tonight.
Right. Tracy, do you want to comment now, or do you want to wait at the end? Any more questions? Okay, I'll go to Councillor Baker while you're fighting with your machine. Councillor Baker.
Yeah, we're continually up against it on this housing supply situation. I just want to seek clarity on when a permission is a permission. So we've just granted outline permission for some 4,000 houses. Does that contribute now towards our 5-year housing supply? Or do we have to, and I'm not sure, do we have to wait for the first spade to go into the ground? I thought outline permission triggered the number. So given how many we've recently given permission for, can I just see clarity on that, please?
I'll go back to you, Mike, first.
Can I also ask, I'm quite interested in the suggestion that we only give certain applications 2 years in which to start rather than 3, which has always been the case. Do we have experience from other authorities as to what impact that has had? Because in theory, I quite support that, but I also am concerned what real impact it will have and whether it will generate extra work for the planning department in terms of those applications coming back every 2 years.
I'll go to you, Mike, in the first instance.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Thank you, Councillor Baker, for your questions. It clearly doesn't, your first question about the Elms Park development, it clearly isn't included in the figures contained in this report because of the 2.52 year supply that we have got. And for all those people that are watching online, this report is specifically about the 5-year land supply that this council has to have available for development, and we are short at the moment. This report states 2.52 years. So I'm pretty sure that those 4,000 and odd houses aren't included in that figure. And as to your second question about planning permission lapses and the patterns around that, I really, if I try to answer it, I'd have to make it up. So I'm going to have to defer to Tracy on that one as well. And I think was there someone else that put their hand up?
No, that's it. Thank you.
That's it.
I'll go to Tracy now to touch on those questions. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Chair. So if I start with Councillor Baker first, yeah, you're absolutely right. The numbers that are consented now aren't included in the figures. But also important to know that until they've actually got consent, so if we take the Elms Park scheme that was consented subject to a Section 106, so it won't actually get its decision notice until we've got an agreed Section 106 as well. So we need to build that into the programme of work. Also to note that the paper you've got in front of you tonight is based upon the 3-year rolling programme that the government applies. And obviously that looks backwards. So we're always looking at historical data, not projecting forward. So it's likely that the Housing Delivery Action Plan will need to be live for a couple of years to enable the strategic sites to be able to catch up and those units starting to come out of the ground. So short answer is yes, in due course, those numbers will be taken into account in terms of monitoring. But in terms of completions, so it'll be useful for our 5-year housing land supply, but this is based upon completions. So it's when we're counting completions. So there's two slightly different things there at play. And then the second question, which was around how we're now putting provisions on should you not deliver this scheme within a certain amount of time. It's still quite early days for us in that, but I will take that away to have a conversation with the head of planning to see whether there's any more national guidance where there's some kind of patterns emerging in relation to that. So I'll take that one away as an action. And then Councillor Atherstone, that was that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Any other member comment or questions for Councillor Collins? Thank you. Well, the recommendations are laid out, as Councillor Collins mentioned. Can I see your show of hands of support? And that is carried. Thank you, everybody. Oh. Agenda item 5, this report from myself and my role as the Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, and it's the Petersfield Community and Sports Hub. So that's agenda item, bear with me a second. Colleagues, this report does concern the Petersfield Partnership and how we've been, as a council, working collaboratively with them with their desire to deliver a community sports hub building to support the St Peters and Moors residents and the wider community. You'll be able to read through the report, the proposed lease arrangements for both the Saracens and the Petersfield Partnership. These are a little complex, but if you look at the site plan and appendix 4, it becomes a little bit easier to understand when you read them together. Section 4 of the report lays out the costs in relation to the construction of the hub and also the fundraising that has been secured so far to deliver the hub. I think it's worth noting that the lion's share identified funding is coming from the Big Local Trust. There is mention of this Big Local Trust in the report, and it dates back quite some time ago. Some colleagues may not actually remember the inception of that. But if colleagues will indulge me, I will actually, on this occasion, like to ask an officer to speak on this report, given its historic nature and how long it's been going on and the amount of involvement from the council. So I invite Richard Gibson, Richard Gibson, Head of Communities. I just elevated you then, Richard, sorry. Richard Gibson, the Head of Communities, to take us back to where it started and a little bit of that journey early on. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. You're absolutely right. The Big Local programme dates back to 2012. So, 13 years ago when the Borough Council was approached by a national body called Local Trust. And we were asked to nominate an area of Cheltenham that had not really seen much kind of investment or regeneration programmes. And we were asked to nominate that area. And when we were looking at the different areas of Cheltenham, St Peters and the Moors stuck out as an area that had clear need and suffered from some disadvantage and had not, at that point, not had kind of any big regeneration programmes taking place in that. So it was an easy one for us as a council to put the area forward, and that was accepted by Local Trust, and the St Peters and the Moors area joined 149 other areas being classed as a part of the Big Local programme and to benefit from that investment. And just to remind you about the Big Local programme, some of the hallmarks of that programme are that all of those 150 areas very much resident-led. This isn't top-down regeneration. This isn't for the council to determine what that shape of that regeneration would look like. This is very much putting the power in residents' hands. Secondly, this is long-term investment, and I guess some of those previous national regeneration schemes probably suffered from being a bit short-term, but here we are sort of 13 years on from that initial inception. This is real long-term investment, and that's been welcomed. And thirdly, this is not at all been prescriptive. There's been no central rule book that the area has had to work to. This has been very much given the power to local residents to determine what that shape of that investment looks like. So to take the project forward in Cheltenham, we set up a new partnership called St Peter's and the Moors Big Local Partnership, which was constituted in such a way that the power of balance was always with residents, that organisations like the Borough Council and at the time Cheltenham Borough Homes and other organisations were always there as advisors. We're always there, you know, in the back working to support residents. It's very much about being resident-led. And that partnership has delivered a vast array of community-based projects, you know, green space projects, community development projects, cultural projects, festivals and poetries and newsletter, financial inclusion projects, young people-based projects, and many trips and social events. But I guess for the partnership, as it's matured and grown, the key area of focus over the last handful of years is about what that legacy would look like, because although it's been a long-term project, it is coming to an end, and very much the focus has been about what the shape of that legacy project would look like. And the SPTM partnership has worked hard to appraise different options for what that option would look like, what that legacy would look like, considered different projects, and came to the conclusion a couple of years ago that really the Community and Sports Hub project would be the recipient of the remainder of the big local funds, because that was the project that ticked the boxes for the SPTM partnership to deliver that. And I think that's the bit of the story that's led us here to this report tonight. Just, if I may, Councillor Jeffries, two other issues. As I've hinted at, the big local funding is coming to an end. It ends at the end of the whole national programme comes to an end at the end of March 2026. And it's with the support of local trusts that we've been given quite a lot of focus and effort to coming forward with a plan that can be delivered within that timescale. There's no going beyond end of March 2026. If money is not spent by that programme, by that timescale, it will be taken back. And secondly, there was just a couple of minor corrections in the report in front of you. Should I deal with those now? So in paras 3.4 and 3.5, and this is more for our colleagues in Democratic Services for the minutes, there's reference in 3.4, 3.5 to a 25-year term lease. Those references should, in fact, refer to for a term ending on the 4th of May 2047. I can send you that detail, colleagues in Democratic Services.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for those corrections, because I would have had to do that myself, so I appreciate that. Colleagues, I'm going to open up to the floor for any questions or any comments, and then I'm going to go to, I've got one person who would like to speak on the matter, but I'll open up to you first. Does any member have any comments or questions? Catherine Aston.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I'd just like to thank you for bringing this report forward today. And as ward councillor, I know the area very well, and I support all the recommendations as laid out in the report. I know how valuable this community centre and sports hub is going to be for the community. The area, I live just on the other side of River Chalk, is in need of a community focus, and this is going to really support the communities of on both sides of the River Chalk in St Peter's and beyond. I know that there's lots of exciting activities happening in the Rock on Tewkesbury Road and the YMCA Sports Centre, and the location of this new hub will just, I believe, help to bring the community together. And Saracens Football Club, it's a great upgrade from the current units that they currently have. And I know that that will be of huge value to a really much loved local sports club. So I really do welcome this. And I think that the plan is laid out in terms of the management agreement, the changes to the lease, the grant agreement is going to support us in supporting Petersfield Partnership to complete the works within budget and on time. So I'm really hoping that by March next year, we'll be able to have an opening party, and we can all go in and have a look. The community impact report at the bottom of the actual report, the assessment, really does highlight how valuable this is going to be in terms of a community asset. And I noted that it says that 42% of residents within the area are aged 25 and under. And to have a facility where not only community can meet up, but access to services, it's just going to be really, really, really great. So, yeah, I hope that all members are happy to support this today. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Atherton. Councillor Telfos.
I just wanted to say, obviously, from my new portfolio hat on, how much I support this on the benefits of purely well-being and sport, because I think those things are so important, and buildings like this and things like this happening draw people in and out of other things they might be doing, get them to play football and get them to get involved and get out there and enjoy, you know, feel more comfortable in the parks around them and things like that. And I think that's all really important for their well-being, but also getting communities together. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm looking around at my colleagues. Councillor Clucas, I didn't think you wouldn't want to speak on this report.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I couldn't not. Can I first say thank you to David and to Victoria for the support they've given, because I think it's been terrific. Thank you. And up there in the gallery, we have a man who is our honorary citizen from last year, and he has been the most amazing person in relation to this. He hasn't done what others have done, which is sorted out committees and all that kind of stuff, but he has been at the heart of this community. And David Bath is a man so respected, I couldn't not say that here in this meeting. So David, rock on, kid, thank you. It really is great work you've done. Yeah. In relation to this, Chair, a couple of things I'd like to say. I think I became chair around about 2016 or 17, something like that. So it has been a huge journey, a long journey. We've had bumps, failures, problems along the way, but look where we are now. And the reason I want this to happen is because that community is a community I've not seen anywhere else in Cheltenham. It links, it joins, it is itself. And this will enable it to grow, to develop strength, to give opportunity to its children and young people. And we had some discussion a while ago, I think, actually, Richard, you were there, where we talked to Golden Valley about the potential for them to come and offer apprenticeships to the young people in that area. So what we have here is something that isn't just a sports ground. It's actually at the heart of the community. And that community can, should, and will make the most of it. Not just to play football, not just to have a drink in the bar there, but actually to create something different. It will be the creation of a community that believes in itself, that wants to move forward, that has opportunity so to do, and that will, over time, become something strong, become something that other areas in Cheltenham can look at and say, do you know what, if they did it, so can we. And I just think that that is a huge thing to do. The two other people I'd like to thank, if I may, or three other people, Richard, because he's had to carry this all that time, so thank you, Richard. A lady called Margaret Jackson, who was the original big local person from Local Trust working with us, and Sophie Cowdell also. Just to say thank you to them for the work that they've done, for the opportunities they've helped to create, and for giving us something that we can all be proud of over time. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Clucas. can't see any of my current colleagues indicating. On this occasion, I'm going to use the discretion of the chair and afford the opportunity for Councillor Williams to speak, who's asked to speak to and address cabinet colleagues. Over to you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. I won't repeat what my ward colleague and Councillor Lucas have said, because all of those things are remarks I'd really like to associate myself with. As the county councillor for the area and as the other ward member, the value that this will deliver is really, really important. And as a county councillor, I was able to contribute only about 2% through the Build Back Better fund that we had as county councillors in the previous 4-year term. So you could say putting your money where your mouth is to try and support this. It clearly doesn't. It's 2%. It's not a huge amount, but it does show county are willing to support this as far as they can. What I want to draw your attention to, which isn't in the report, but it's the Operation Endeavour, Clear, Hold, Build. And it's running in 2 parts of Cheltenham at the moment. It's running in St Paul's and it's running in St Peters and the Moors. And last Monday, we had a visit from an Assistant Chief Constable to see how Op Endeavour was working. And we started off in St Paul's at the community hub there. And you can see how having a community facility where all of the services can go into, all of the outreach can be provided for, makes a huge difference. And the number of partners who were at that first meeting at the St Paul's Hub showed what having a physical presence, the difference that can make. And at the moment, there isn't the facilities to have that quality of physical presence in St Peters and the Moors. And this actually gives you that physical presence. The key thing that you need to take away about the physical presence in Op Endeavour, which is Clear, Hold, Build, is this isn't a 1-year project, it isn't a 5-year project, it is a generational project. This council has to sustain Op Endeavour as the multi-agency task with its partners, probably for 2 decades, maybe longer. So this building and this lease is a major part of that. I hope you will all be fully behind it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I can see no other colleagues indicating, so I'll wrap this one up, if I may. I'm very proud, actually, of all my time as a councillor, and I think administration, Liberal Democrat administration before me and my time as a councillor, invested in our communities. I think we do have a track record across the town of supporting communities. I expect on this occasion there'll be some more obstacles and some more challenges, as there have been with other communities in the past. But I think collectively, and this is the key thing, collaboratively and collectively, we're working with our communities. This particular instance is the community working with us because they are leading this. David, thank you for coming to see us this evening. It's always a pleasure to bump into you, sir. I'm going to finish talking now and ask colleagues to look at the recommendations and show me whether they'd like to support them. And then we'll go to the vote effectively. Colleagues. I'm going to go to the vote and all those in favour? And everybody's got their hand up, so that's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, David. Right then, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is briefing sessions. So we'll go around the room. I've got a list, and you're on it, Mike, so you're first. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Yeah, I've just got one that I would like to share with Cabinet colleagues this evening, and that is I have today signed off on the draft Neighbourhood Sill Panel report that will be determined by Cabinet on, I think it's the 15th of July. So I forwarded the necessary information to everyone so you can have a look at it in advance, and hopefully we'll be able to support some really, really good projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Lewis.
Nothing from me at this meeting. This is a Deputy Leader, but there'll be plenty at the next one.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. I look forward to them. Councillor Atherton.
Thank you, Leader. Very, very deep in updating lots of our important licensing policies, but I have managed to get out as well, and had a great meeting last week with the new chaplain of YMCA Cheltenham, Reverend Tim Welch, and we've had a really productive Violence Against Women and Girls Forum committee meeting also last week. And not long before that, our strategic No Child Left Behind board meeting. So lots of great things coming forward. And tomorrow I'm off to a youth event supported by the Children's Society. And I will be asking young people while hula hooping, what 3 things would you change about Cheltenham and why? So I haven't done that for a while, so I hope I can keep it around my waist.
Thank you, Councillor Atherton. Councillor Telford.
I have quite a lot. It's been, I'll go full Martin and give you the full rundown of here's lots of cultural things that have been happening. Because obviously it's been a very busy few weeks as I get stuck into this new portfolio. There was a very different world to my last one. And as well as like plenty of meetings and action plans and sessions with my new officers. A couple of them were here tonight. I've been meeting as many of our cultural and wellbeing organisations as I can in these first weeks, so they know who I am and I can understand their needs and everything. I've already met with wonderful people from the Wilson, Cheltenham Festivals, the Playhouse, the Everyman, Cheltenham Lido, as well as Harriers and Smiths Rugby yesterday, who are based at the Prince of Wales Stadium, to try and understand and discuss their needs there. Obviously, part of this work in the last couple of weeks has been dealing with the Playhouse and their urgent funding crisis, but I'll get to that when we get to decisions. I've also attended Cheltenham Lido's 90th year celebration alongside Councillor Rowena Hay, Colin Hay, Mayor David Willingham, and our MP Max. And that was a really great testament to this community asset, really, that's not just for Cheltenham, but for the wider communities outside of Cheltenham, the amount of people that come to the Lido to enjoy a swim. And we've got a tour behind of their plant room of all this original machinery that's been there for 90 years and is still working, and they've kept up to date, which is almost like a working museum, which is a really interesting kind of insight into the amount of work they have to put in to make the Lido work for our town. This week we've also had the Cheltenham Science Festival, which obviously provides so many interesting opportunities for people to learn things. You know, we can always, all of us, doesn't matter how old you are, we can learn new things, and I think that's really important, and to discuss all sorts from space to, there was stuff about basically VAR and technology in sport and all of this. And I was pleased to attend a VIP event there with Rowena to meet all the people from the festivals. And there was a young girl there that gave us a presentation on photosynthesis and the life of leaves to a level of public speaking that I'm impressed of, even though I sit here and have to talk and waffle on every couple of weeks. I was very impressed with what she was delivering there. And despite, I think, some fairly good GCSEs and sciences, I think I learnt more than I did at school. So I think that was really good. And the last thing for me is I also attended the Uni of Glos Creative Arts degree show at Park Campus. And this is a really amazing display of all the different subjects, from animation, game design, fine art, fashion, music, the whole spectrum of what is offered there, including film production that I'm a graduate of. And having come from Uni of Glos myself, it's great to see that they now do this degree show, and because the opportunities I think it can provide for these students, and hopefully ways to connect with employers to keep these talents in our town, because it really gives them a showcase. Even if it's just a case of, here's some of the amazing stuff they've done, enjoy it with their families and things, but actually, if you can connect them to businesses and organisations that will keep them here, I think that's really important to keep young people in our town. But personal highlights for me were obviously some of the advertising and graphic design works, but they also had interior architecture projects that were looking at Golden Valley and how they could make collaborative spaces there. And I thought that was a really nice kind of link between us and the university. But one final shout out to the video game that I got to pick up a controller and play as a pirate and jump around some islands for half an hour. That was quite good. But that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Telford. That does seem like an absolutely amazing packed 2 weeks. I'm kind of envious. But I'll move on to Councillor Pinniger.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. My statement is pre-written because I've met the officers for the first time earlier today. I've sort of enrolled for 2 weeks, so I'm just learning all there is to be learned. So just bear with me. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to my colleagues in the Liberal Democrat group for placing their trust in me and appointing me to the Cabinet. And thank you to our leader for assigning me to the climate emergency portfolio. It's a real honour. I've had a lifelong passion for climate action and nature, and I'm delighted to be taking this role on at such a critical time. I hope to do it justice and working collaboratively with colleagues, officers, and our community to make meaningful progress. Climate and nature engagement. May was a busy month for the climate team. We supported 2 key workshops hosted by Climate Leadership Gloucestershire, one focused on assessing climate risks and vulnerabilities across the county, and the other on local area energy planning, strategic work which will feed into the national energy planning, that's the grid. These are foundational steps in shaping a resilient, low-carbon future for our area. We've also continued our public engagement work. Our retrofit programme has now reached over 54,000 homeowner interactions, well ahead of our September target. We've held 1 major event and 10 supporting events, and we're seeing real momentum with homeowners beginning to take action. In schools, we've supported 49 students from 9 Cheltenham secondary schools in preparing for their Climate Action Showcase. That's from 6 till 7:30 on the 25th of June at the Wilson, so you're all invited. It's inspiring to see the next generation leading the way. Cheltenham Zero and business engagement. The Cheltenham Zero initiative continues to grow. 2 more businesses have signed up for carbon audits, and we're preparing for a celebration and a fund launch event later this month. This work is vital in helping our local economy transition to net zero. Flood risk and biodiversity. On flood risk, the proposed scheme in Grangefield is progressing to detailed design. We're also entering the 3rd summer of our Reclaim the River Chelt volunteer programme, tackling invasive species and improving biodiversity. New information posts have been installed in parks and nature reserves to raise awareness of the benefits of wild areas and long grasses. Small but important steps in shifting public understanding of biodiversity. Housing decarbonisation. On housing, we've made progress across several retrofit schemes. Works are complete on multiple properties. We're moving forward with assessments and installations under the Warm Homes Social Housing Fund. These upgrades do not only reduce emissions, but also improve comfort and lower bills for residents. Finally, I want to thank the officers across climate, housing and flooding teams for their dedication and innovation. Seriously, really impressed today when I met them. Their work's often behind the scenes, but it's absolutely essential for our borough's future. So thank you, and thank you, Deputy Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pinniger. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman. So I enjoyed my first ever visit to Colford in the Forest of Dean. Got lost coming back, I have to say. But I was there with Karen Watson for the Gloucestershire Resources and Waste Partnership. I'm sure Isaac will know all about that, but that's a meeting of all the local authorities and the county council to discuss resources and waste. And what's clearly apparent is that across the county, recycling rates are sort of are reducing or stagnated. And what was also clear actually was how much Cheltenham has been a leader in new initiatives on recycling more and more products, A, at the curbside, but just B, generally speaking. And obviously we're now talking about introducing recycling on flimsy plastic and also Tetra Paks. And again, this will be leading the way in Gloucestershire in the same way that coffee pods were and everything else. So it was quite apparent to me that other authorities looked to us as one of the leaders in this field, which was great. Probably more importantly was I was able to spend about 2 hours in the car with Councillor Martin Horwood, who has, of course, now taken on the role at County Council Cabinet Member for Waste. And we've had some interesting discussions coming back about the HRC and what opportunities there may be for that going forward. Lots of discussions to be had there, I'm sure. I then was able to, and what is a delight actually is that despite the difficulties of the economy and local government finance, we are still investing in our town. You know, the Long Gardens now, the new planting scheme is underway. We're waiting on another lot of plants to be delivered, but that is going to generate so much colour and biodiversity and nature to our town centre. That's going to be a real joy when that's finished. We then had a little tour at Montpellier. Great to see we're investing in newer play equipment there in the Montpellier play area. Also painting the railings up there. And of course, I paid a visit to the new public toilets, which is part of my portfolio. And I was blown away by those. They're absolutely amazing. They must be the best public toilets in the whole of the country, actually. Let's just hope that people respect them. And hopefully they will. I then had a really, really positive meeting this morning with Richard and Adam with the Old Pats about looking at ways that we can work with them to enhance their offer in terms of improving the playing surfaces, and much in accordance with the policy document we only passed at our last meeting about making improving our sports facilities in our town for the benefit of all. So that was a great meeting, watch this space, but there was somebody there from the rugby union, and obviously, you know, we've really got to be looking at attracting funding from wherever we can. So no, I'm loving my portfolio, and we'll have more to report next time round. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Clucas.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. It's been a really interesting period because in the last 3 weeks, I've been invited to speak at events in Brussels. And it's a great opportunity to say what Cheltenham's doing and how it's doing it. So, for example, one of the issues that was being debated at the Council of Europe in Strasbourg was violence against women and girls, and how that is being handled by local authorities and governments across Europe. I was able to say what we're doing here and how we're making things safer for our girls and our women and how we're bringing them into political discussion, which is not happening elsewhere. The second one, you may know that there was a summit between the UK government and the European Union about 10 days ago. Before that, there was a local government summit between our local government in the UK and in the European Union. And I'm going to say this, and you're probably going to hate me for it. When I went there to speak and to talk to people, it was like going home, because all they want to do is say, yeah, come on, come and have a chat, come and tell us what, come and talk to us, come and see how we can work together. And it was really quite amazing, because I'm not sure I was expecting that. So that's two of the things that I've done. I'd like to express now something in relation to what I did today, which was amazing. And what I did was to walk through our town with our homelessness team and look at how our town is in relation to homelessness. I, in fact, spoke at length to one guy who's homeless, and seeing what we are actually doing about it. Our average number of homeless people in Cheltenham on a weekly basis is 5 or 6. Last week, it was up to 13, and we don't know why. So that's being investigated. It looks as if people are moving out of Gloucester and coming here, and then going back to Gloucester. So something is happening between the two towns that is being looked at. The other issue is, for some of those people who are homeless, it's extremely sad, because they can actually have all their possessions stolen. And I met the gentleman today who everything he had while he was up getting some food was stolen from where he was sleeping, where he was living. He didn't want help from us because he likes to think of himself as being able to do that kind of thing. So the help was there and he knows how to access it. And what is wonderful, Chair, is that we actually have organisations in this town that work with us. I'm going to tell you a story before I finish. You will know about P3, CCP, and the Citizens Advice, and Open Door. Yeah, they were there today with us. And the interesting thing for me is that you hear of things that those organisations are doing, and I came across one, and it's this. Before Christmas, people were sleeping on the streets, and there was one old guy. He'd been homeless for 20 years, didn't want help, didn't want anybody telling him what to do. That was what he wanted to do. He was on the streets, but it became so cold that he was shivering all the time and couldn't do anything. And so he was offered the opportunity to go into a pod that CCP had installed in their premises. And he decided he couldn't not because it was so cold. And he went to the pod. And inside the pod, there's a bed, there's heating, there's water, there's sanitary facilities, and so on. And for the first time in 20 years, he was able to lie down flat rather than have to curl up like this. The story now is he was thinking about moving, but decided to stay in the pod. And now he will be moving into his own accommodation here in Cheltenham for the first time in 20 years. Just think about the impact of that and how many other people might benefit from having that opportunity. And so, with your consent, colleagues, I'd like to say thank you to all of our volunteers, whether that's Open Door, CCP, P3, wherever, for all the work they do to help with the homeless in this town. And we will not stop until we are able to give each of those homeless people, and this is what we're moving to, a home of their own. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. I haven't got any update from my portfolio area, but I just want to touch back on what something Councillor Lucas says. I don't forget on my soapbox what I do, to be fair, but it really pains me that we still have a homelessness issue in this country. We've had a housing crisis for all of my life. And during the pandemic, the government did one little good thing, I think, which they swept up all homeless people and put them in hotels. So there are political choices out there. Unfortunately, we don't have the power at this council. I wish we did. I think I'd probably get in trouble with everybody in the building if I started buying hotels up for homeless people. I don't think we'd actually have the finance for it, to be fair. But the government could end homelessness if they want to. It's a political choice. It breaks my heart that they don't, because people exist on our streets, they don't live. I'm moving on now to, after I get off my soapbox, thank you for indulging me, colleagues. Section 7, decisions of cabinet members. And I'll go straight back to Councillor Lucas, who's got 2 decisions to announce. Thank you, Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Both of these concern asylum seekers and refugees, and we have taken the decision to put some finance into those organisations dealing with this so that we can actually help both asylum seekers, particularly in relation to language, so that they actually end up speaking English, not being afraid to go anywhere because they don't speak the language, so that is happening, and also so that we can ensure that our refugees are actually able to access the assistance that is required to help them. So the money is going into both of those, Deputy Leader, and I'm sure that it will make a difference.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. I took the decision to award the contract for the build with our development partner for 320 Swindon Road. I noticed it's in my cabinet colleague portfolio, but I was the delegated cabinet member at the time, hence the decision came back to me. I'm moving on now to Councillor Baker.
Thank you. Yes, we've just awarded a contract for the purchase of 3 food waste vehicles to replace the current fleet. As we know, it's really important that we recycle as much food and waste as we possibly can, and actually it all goes out onto fields and is nutritious to fields and things like that. So it's a great thing that we do there, and of course all vehicles are running on biofuel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. and probably one of the most sought after decisions I think that the whole town was waiting for at one point. I'll go over to Councillor Telford.
Thank you. And I just want to, obviously, throwing back to the mention of Councillor Cluse's mention of volunteers, and obviously I've always said the same thing in my Parks and Gardens portfolio, but this is another scenario where the volunteers are so important, and it's the Cheltenham Playhouse, where across its 80-year history, it's delivered huge amounts of value to our local community, enabling people to have a place on the stage, behind the scenes, or just in the audience and enjoying it. And the Playhouse and the work they do makes art inclusive and accessible to people of Cheltenham and beyond, but they obviously face a financial crisis to keep the doors open. And their brilliant new theatre trustees that we've met recently a few times have a master plan for the long term, but this immediate financial crisis is urgent and needs to be solved. So it's only right that we come together and do all we can to ensure the theatre has the funding in place to continue now and for the long term, to keep the doors open for the benefit of all of us, but also for future generations. And it's obviously been a very challenging few weeks to get this secured, but I'm so proud to say that this council could provide a grant of £25,000 towards the Cheltenham Playhouse to help address these urgent financial pressures and their target that they need to hit by the end of June. And they need to get to £50,000 total, and they're well on their way there to get there to the end of June, keep the doors open. They have more long-term financial kind of barriers to get over for the rest of the year. So as well as this kind of immediate funding boost, we will be working closely with the Playhouse going forward, see however ways we can support them going forward. So I look forward to kind of providing more updates on this in future meetings. But I will say this, if any Cheltenham residents watching this, all 13 of people who all tune into our cabinet meetings online, feel able to back the Playhouse's fundraiser or offer longer term support in terms of volunteering, please do get involved, because I think it's really important that the Playhouse can continue to serve our town for another 80 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Telford. Very well received, I know that decision was. Agenda item 8, any items that require urgent or require decision? And there are none. So thank you all, and thank all the officers for this evening, and for members of the public that joined us, and I'll declare this meeting